Hi, I'm Denise and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my Victober TBR. And Victober is a month-long read-along where you read Victorian novels. And this came at a perfect time for me because, you know, as it's getting into the colder months, I feel like reading more classics. And I haven't read many classics in school, and I want to remedy that. So I found out about this read along and I wanted to join in. And so the challenge is to read five books, but my list grew very fast because I just started researching all these different books and went a little bit crazy. So I have about 10 titles that I'm going to try to read this month. The first challenge is to read a Victorian book by a Scottish, Irish, or Welsh author. And I went with a Scottish author, and I'm going to read Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. And, you know, I know about the story just because of in pop culture, the basic premise, but I've never bothered to read it. And I will be listening to this on audio. Most of these, unless I say so, will be audiobooks. I recently found this free service called LibriVox, which I knew about ages ago, but now they have an app on your phone where you can download free audiobooks of books that are in the public domain. And luckily, all these books are in the public domain. So they are amateur recordings of audiobooks, so if you're very picky about that, then I would suggest you not listen to them, but some of them are pretty good. There's a lot of reviews, so you can avoid the bad ones. So on to the second challenge is to read a lesser known Victorian book, and I'm going to go with The Haunted Hotel by Wilkie Collins. And lesser known means about 1,200 or less ratings on Goodreads, and this has about 3,000 ratings on Goodreads. And this is I think a gothic novel about a possible haunting in a hotel in Venice. Researching Wilkie Collins, I'm very interested in reading his work, but a lot of his books are on the longer side, and this is actually a smaller novel, so I'm looking forward to that. The third challenge is to read a supernatural Victorian book, and I'm going to read Camilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fou. I think that's how you say that. And this is a vampire book that actually was released before Dracula, and I actually read Dracula many years ago, so I'd be interested to compare the two. The fourth challenge is to read a Victorian book recommended to me. Well, I've never been recommended a Victorian novel, so I'm just gonna go with a book I've seen on YouTube, talked about a lot, and this is The Warden by Anthony Trollope. So researching Victorian novels, I started reading the bios of the novels, of the authors, and Anthony Trollope seemed to be an interesting guy. Like, he had a full-time job and would write novels on the side, and he actually wrote, like, I think over 80 works or something like that. And so this book was this is actually part of a series called the Chronicles of Leicestershire. And I heard that the first book, The Warden, is not very good, but the series gets better as it goes along, so I want to read this series. And I heard that there was an adaptation recently of one of the novels, so I want to watch that too. So I'll just get through The Warden. I'm going in with low expectations, so hopefully I won't hate it. And the fifth challenge is to read a Victorian book by a female author, and I'm going to read a book by George Eliot called Silas Martin, which is also a novel on the shorter side. This is a theme for me today. And all I know is that this is a story about a weaver that is accused of a crime that he didn't commit, and the repercussions of that. So yeah, besides the 5 books for the challenge, I'm going to read Mrs. Warren's Profession by George Bernard Shaw, and this is actually a play. And on Liverbox they have a dramatized recording of it, so every part is read by a different person, so that's really interesting to me, so I'm looking forward to listening to that. And then other shorter works that I'm hoping to get to is the Canterville Ghost by Oscar Wilde, and this is a story about a American family that moves into a British mansion, and there's a ghost living there. So that seems interesting. And then I wanted to read something by Elizabeth Gaskell, so I'm gonna try The Grey Woman, which is another gothic novella, which is about a woman who thinks her husband is gonna kill her or something like that. And then I'm gonna read The Lifted Veil by George Eliot. So this is gonna be my second George Eliot's work, and this is a novella about a person who thinks he can see into the future. And the last book I'm hoping to get to, which is actually a group read, and this is a new to me author called Margaret Atwood. Most of her books are out of print, unfortunately, but she was very popular in her day, and she was a favorite author of Queen Victoria, so I'm very interested to read her works. So the group read is Miss Marchbanks, and so I'm hoping to read that. I know it's part of a series, and you don't need to read the first books in the series, but I might read the Rector, which is very short. I think it's about 30 pages, so I have that on my Kindle already, so I might just read that before I get to this book in the series, because it's going to be read later on in the month. So I'll put all the links to the books down below and to the hosts of this read along. I forgot to mention at the beginning. So yeah, I'm very excited to start reading these books. Let me know if you've read any of these and if you're gonna participate, and what you think about the books I picked. So I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.